that no one picked.
It just seems like Longzhu maybe doesn't play it. I mean, when you come to Khan's champion pool, Maokai doesn't really feel like a plug-and-play. They're close to tanks he's played previously, are things like Renekton, which are more about pressure and the bruiser side of things than a true engage tank. And when he wants to engage, he plays Jarvan. So Maokai, at least as of the evidence of games 1 and 2, doesn't seem like a pick for Longzhu. And okay, a Jace blue side ban. So it feels like Longzhu don't want to play these Jace comps on patch 7.14.
Yeah, they don't want to do that, and it's going to be the Caitlyn ban as well. So two things to note, the Kalista and the Gragas, both available here for Longzhu. Kalista definitely going to be the higher priority, but the Gragas could be taken by either team. They've banned this away twice now, Jinair, but they leave it open this time around.
I don't feel like Jinair are going to take an early rotation Thresh to answer the Kalista as high priorities before. I felt like they wanted to deny Kalista Thresh in Game 1, and Thresh didn't find much value from Gorilla in Game 2, so like you say, really rising priority for Gragas, given how good Kuz has been on it in previous series. Not the bounty in the face of the Kalista, but you don't want to deal with Gragas engage after the Fate's call either.
I so wanted to see that Twisted Fate, but
just straight up blind pick.
It would be a ballsy move.
It would be a foolhardy one at best.
I mean, if you won with it, then it'd be then it becomes that much crazier. But they'll just settle for the Gragas for now.
And the Thresh, again, was a possibility to be taken away. I don't know if it was necessarily as core to the Longzhu strategy, but I guess they focus on how strong Thresh Kalista as a duo are, and maybe we're going to start to get a reset of the picks on blue side, as the Sejuani was used to good effect in Game 1.
It's looking that way. They will just go ahead and lock this one in yet again for Kuz. So maybe we just start piecing together the same composition that we saw in Game 1. That was Syndra mid for BDD, Blitzcrank for Gorilla, as well as that J4 top. So they'll take what they can get here. Don't think we'll see something like the Syndra this early on, but BDD was feeling saucy enough he could go ahead and lock it in, but instead, okay, speaking of getting saucy, we'll just go ahead and lock it at Jax.
And Khan has been one of our most impressive Jax's. Different type of lane pressure compared to the Jace. Doesn't auto-win lanes, but certainly can run away with games. And I have to focus on their macro being on point, but it is a secondary win condition to a comp that largely is probably going to be about Kalista team fighting at 2 items. Tristana available to answer the Kalista, and this would be the spot to take it. So jungle and bot lane secured for Jinair. I wonder what theory Longzhu will take with their bans in the second round, because when it comes to picks against Jax, a lot of things can do well on paper, and yet he can run away lanes with Snowball. So approaching a path against Jax can be interesting. You can just sort of ban away Jarvan and not want to deal with someone who can team fight better than Jax in any scenario.
Well, for now, it's going to be the Blitzcrank, targeted out onto Gorilla. Get rid of him, so no hooks available for him. And then the Lucian yet again, despite the fact that the Galio is banned away. You kind of talked about it, you know, decent blind pick into that mid lane, so let's go ahead and take that away from Kuzan.
I think with Sejuani, Jax, Longzhu don't want to blind pick Lucian, so they don't want to leave it open as an answering or a blind pick for Jinair Greenwings. They would have just been too overloaded on physical damage on the blue side, so they decide no one's getting a hold of Lucian. As Rye Smile from Gorilla trying to work out which engage support he's going to be pairing with the Kalista.
I feel like maybe we just see another LeBlanc ban by Longzhu here.
Definitely a possibility, given that LeBlanc has been banned a lot against Faker recently. Such a much bigger pick in other regions in Korea, but a staple of Kuzan's champion pool. It's a good call. In the same spot in both drafts, we have the LeBlanc banned.
Just don't want to give him that comfort if he wanted to, you know, blind pick it here and allow for a counter pick in the top lane. So just go ahead, ban that one away.
Mid lane counter pick seems to be the higher priority for Jinair. Cho'Gath would represent most likely a top laner, but of course could be flexed to mid as recently as in the LPL today. Icon was playing in the mid lane, has been situationally a counter pick there.
This is true.
So some ambiguity, and Kuzan does strike me as one of those mid lane Cho'Gath players.
I mean, it could also be in the jungle if the Gragas goes top.
You're right.
There's a lot of flexibility here for Jinair. In the meantime, Longzhu maybe looking for the Braum. This is one that was banned away by Jinair,
but Taric.
Okay, instead we will flip over to the Taric.
Taric with Ardent Sensor, no doubt incoming here as the mid lane is going to be the blind pick given all those ramifications. And it's going to be the Taliyah return from BDD. These are his two most played players. The Galio in Game 2, and now the Taliyah in Game 3. 8-3 in LCK history on the Taliyah, but 8-2 over the course of summer season.
We won't talk about that one other loss.
Oh, no. That was on a different org.
I don't even know what team he was playing.
Well, Jin seemed to be settling on it being no Cho'Gath mid lane. Single tier rolls down your cheek. It's going to be the Corki as the answer to Taliyah. Very common matchup we saw all throughout Rift Rivals 2017.
But where does the Gragas and this Cho'Gath go is going to be the question. Let's see, 20 seconds where they will go ahead and wind up with these picks.
I would imagine Cho'Gath is going to be top lane, but I'm not 100% clear on that.
I would like to see that. That is what I think would be the more interesting matchup here. 6 seconds remaining. They haven't flipped anything yet.
Maybe just going to be the Gragas. So my first instinct was wrong. It's going to be Gragas top lane, which strikes me as the sort of matchup. There's going to be a lot of latitude for Jax to pick up a lot of CS. And Longzhu, if they can actually get a level 1 going and ward up for the Jax, they have traditionally been very strong at playing around Khan's split push pressure. First time this series that Khan is actually empowered to play the side lanes. He was very much on team fighting duty in Game 1 and 2.
I mean, you think about, Afrika in Game 1 versus Samsung earlier today, Tristana and the Cho'Gath. There was no opening for that Cho'Gath for Spirit to make it in for the ganks because the Tristana was contained under the turret, couldn't control the wave. So could be similar troubles here for Umti unless he can get out to a lead, because the mid lane is not going to have any CC whatsoever, so might just have to rely on Gragas up top. But all right, this is it, guys. The final game of this series that has delivered a bit more than we thought it would. Let's go ahead and load in.
Gonna be on the ball with the rollouts today.
Castrogen, he wants to get out of here. So he's just throwing it straight into the game, so.
The crowd on both sides are throwing their lungs into cheers for Longzhu and Jin. Remember that, sure, Longzhu are on the trail for first spot, which may not be decided by the match victory in this particular game. But Jin are also fighting for 5th spot. If they move to 8 match wins, they will match the record of Afrika Freaks. They have an inferior game score, so they will be behind, as another Prey fan is in the audience.
There's plenty of those. Well, it might not be a cowbell, but got some speakers.
So Jin winning, they will be behind a couple of games behind Afrika, but not matches. So they will be able to potentially unseat Afrika Freaks and make that late charge into 5th spot. So for both teams, a lot on the line. So we approach the draft and work out what to make of it. It's not going to be a very powerful Kalista duo lane in terms of the laning phase. Tarek's only harass is the Dazzle. It's going to Ignite for a bit more lane pressure and lane priority, but bigger story here is that BDD is the only one who in the early game will have any semblance of a pushing advantage. It's never going to be that stark over a Corki mid lane. Late invade coming through from Longzhu, but they are spotted.
It's wrapping around, throw down the ward, so they're going to spot this red buff start. They see how many people are there. Go ahead and look for these Raptors.
Only just a single one stolen away by Khan.
Worth it all.
Risky.
Yeah, Khan going a bit balls to the wall here. There is that smite available for MT, so he's just going to go ahead and peel back. MT will kill this and continue on his merry way.
The clear is very, very sustained from the Cho'Gath. Like you mentioned, we saw the other side of Cho'Gath from Spirit in Game 1, where didn't have power in lanes to make things happen. Thresh can certainly make things happen in bot lane, as they're already brawling.
Yep, Dazzle connects on the Teddy, but he's got that satchel charge to go ahead and try to fight back.
In team fights, the Cosmic Radiance is going to be the key ability of this game. I mentioned it during the MVP series yesterday, but during these tanky battles, it really does feel like Tarek has the ultimate go button. Cosmic Radiance, when well-timed, means that even true damage from Umti will not even register. And if Khan is split pushing, the timing of the Cosmic Radiance, whether it denies, say, a 5v4 attempt from Jin, who do have the Gragas, potentially teleporting in for Wombo engage, could be the difference between the 4 holding true or the 4 going down. Because the moment you have Gragas into Jax, you've kind of admitted as Jin Air that Jax is going to get basically free farm.
Yeah. Already taking a bit of an early lead there as he's going to take the blast cone over the wall for a little bit of a ride. So on does have the lane pushing at the moment with that barrel going off. So this could be a very early gank here from the side of the Sejuani. So ward thrown down over the wall would be spotted, but is it enough of a reaction time?
I mean, Longzhu, vertical jungling has basically happened given the Sejuani's top side, so Khan is free to do whatever he wants in this lane against the Gragas.
He's going to get spotted now. So this comes wrapping around, looking for the stun. Flashes in for it. Someone has his own flash. He'll just go ahead and flash away from the Arctic Assault.
Yep,
They get a little bit of damage in. Passive will proc, but can they kill him off? The answer is going to be no, and now they could be looking to turn things around as Kuzan will cancel the TP.
He was just hanging back. No purchase yet from Kuzan, and mid lane Corki often can get a pretty big tempo advantage in CS doing that as Khan finds So1 by teleporting back into lane, but that's been denied by Kuzan having to relieve pressure from his top lane.
How anticlimactic.
That was kind of the subtext of Series 2, you have to say, for Game 2 at least.
I mean, it got pretty exciting on the turnaround, you know.
Well, this time we have Weaver's Wall, Fate's Call, Dazzle, and Sejuani, so Engage has certainly been beefed up for Longzhu.
Empty right now, sitting here in the mid lane. Gonna be looking for BDD, but he's already cheating his way to the opposite side of the lane. Because in the meantime, coming back over the wall, looking for So1, knows that the flash is down, but the stun's not going to register this time out. Should still be able to get the passive. Will get locked in. So1 will fall. First blood goes over to Khan.
Yeah. Extra marks for persistence coming through from Cuz. Did a lot of power farm Sejuani jungles, Ambition in particular. But it's actually just the focus on the top lane that Longzhu was setting up for by Cuz, taking the Krugs early and pathing around top lane multiple times. Game 1 we mentioned, stay away from Khan, he's on the Rumble, he's on the Jarvan. Game 2, same story, on the Rumble. Just allow him to be pushed in, he'll get his items, he'll be relevant. It's a very much different story when it's the Jax. And you notice Cuz's jungle pathing adjusts accordingly.
You know, it's as they say, if at first you do not succeed, then gank again, that flashless Gragas.
A famous adage.
Yes, that is a direct quote.
Inscribed in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting language choice there.
I wasn't sure. Like Latin probably would have been.
Both, actually. They were trying to be really inclusive.
Okay. You know, just so multiple peoples and cultures could read it. Well, Cuz
he's having a gank party today.
He's not done yet. Blast going over the wall.
Taric can apply the melee auto attacks very fast with the passive, 100% attack speed. So you get that first hit from the Sejuani, and then it's basically a CC train from the Dazzle and also the Permafrost.
Well, decides not to go in for the gank. Just too much safety there for Teddy and Snowflower. With the leap in the dark passage.
Bit of a headache here already in the top lane.
I'd say it's a migraine.
Reason why I was thinking about the Cho'Gath top is that he can push waves fast, which a Gragas can do too. But also, the Jax ultimate resistance has been nothing to true damage, so you get any sort of gank assistance, the Nom will largely be able to take down the Jax, who honestly doesn't build a lot of health with a lot of the recent builds that have been Blade the Ruin King focused instead of going for something like the Titanic Hydra. But Gragas was a selection from Jin Air, and the end result has been that free farm we spoke about. He has first roam and also some wards to play around on bot side.
And he's level 7. But it seems like doesn't want to go for any sort of gank until perhaps Prey is level 6 for the Fate's Call for just extra lockdown.
Seems like Gorilla and Prey don't subscribe to the heal on the Taric, cleanse on the Kalista strategy that MVP was enjoying earlier this week. Pretty low value cleanse this game, so
yeah,
maybe not as much of a factor.
Khan will find himself in a bit of a party here up top, but the wave is pushing in, so it seems like MT maybe not going to be able to gain much ground.
It would have to be a pretty long camp, you'd imagine.
That or a dive, which doesn't seem like a great idea.
No. Flash not up for Khan, so that's one thing in the win column for this gank success
nearly
happening.
there. It's about to come back up. Could knock him out with the explosive cask.
If he uses his leap strike, that's the time to go in.
Oh, well, he's going to check the brush. Body slam coming in. Has the double stun. Gets popped over to the side. Can he make it out? Flashes away. Rupture not going to clip him. Wouldn't have killed him either way. Had the ultimate still running. Khan does make it out, but basically as soon as that flash comes up, he has to use it, but he at least trades for Umti.
Oh, the face check. He was so close to going down anyway. Early feast coming through from Umti just to ensure they knew exactly how much damage they needed to take down the Jax. But the boots too, and the flash coming up very fortuitously was just enough for Khan to live. He will have to complete the back. He doesn't have teleport yet. No flash availability for Khan this game.
Yeah, just keeps having to use that one, as it turns out. But still, it's going to be Longzhu in a pretty decent spot, up by about 1,000 gold at the moment. And the Jax does have that sheen, so the damage is going to be pretty nice in the exchanges here between he and so on.
The pathing from Umti has not been as free as the pathing was for Cuz in Game 2 to amplify the lead for the Tristana, who already does very well against the Calista, as we have said many times already, with the advent of that becoming a very common matchup in the LCK, instead being largely trying to bail out the Gragas, which doesn't necessarily strike me as a solution, given that it only really gets worse as the items roll in for the Jax when it comes to the Gragas matchup. Interesting to see where Gragas goes, as Righteous Glory could be an item build for sure. Could also be something like the Bramble Vest to start to cut down the regen, admittedly not very much from Khan.
Well, ow. Kuzan takes quite a bit of damage. There's more coming through and forces to use the Valkyrie behind the minion wave just to stop from getting chipped out.
Forcing 100 mana out of a Corki is also not completely irrelevant either.
Doesn't have a whole lot of that to go around. Big assault coming through. Prison's not going to connect, so it'll be okay. Kuzan still holding on to the flash, but mid lane turret does take quite a bit of damage.
Ult was already used by So1 on the top. That's what got Khan low. I imagine he would have taken a turret shot in that trade. Very low regen build. Flask is pretty common on Jax's, but just went for Doran's shield in this game, maybe predicting the turret dives in other plays. Having extra health will certainly help against the Cho'Gath in particular. Top lane party returns, but this time everyone's invited, Achilles.
This is true. It's not just going to be an exclusive one.
What is it with Cho'Gaths waiting for action to happen today?
I don't know. Throws down another ward.
Health lead for So1 means that Umti should be able to clear out the control ward here. Not smart for the contest, even though BDD would have been able to rotate first with the Weaver's Wall. Teleport there for Kuzan as well, so no outnumbering potential.
Look at that teamwork. Both Dazzles connecting.
Even more difficult to track the Dazzle, given that you have the leap distance as well to factor in.
Well, they got it down, but not a whole lot of punish coming off the backside of that. Teddy at the moment keeping up pretty well in CS, just down by 6 at the moment.
But honestly, Tristana usually has an advantage in the Calista lane, so keeping up is not ideal. Being competitive CS, but not really being able to push the lane in like you'd want to, or get free damage onto the enemy turret. This lane has gone better than expected, and a lot of that is the excellent play from Longzhu around top side, and Umti being there to, like I've said a couple of times, bail out So1 rather than being able to focus on other lanes.
See, I just sort of naturally think about that sort of situation. It's like, well, he's keeping up with Prey. That's really good. And then you factor in the actual champion matchup.
And Teddy is pretty good also.
Oh, yes.
On that side
Not
of the
to discredit Teddy, but Prey is Prey.
If we are going to level a small criticism at Teddy, is he has been run over against some of the real stars of the league, like Ruler, Bang in the first round robin. And you could see it against Prey as he's still trying to adjust to being a true star of his own right. Love to see Teddy get a full year under his belt as we're close to the end of the summer season. So much promise, you'll remember, in the Kesper Cup last year, and then squandered a lot with the struggles of Jin Air in spring, even if Teddy himself looked great. And he definitely settled for a summer where, sure, he wasn't by far the best player on his team, but his team leveling up around him has allowed him to be a relevant factor in the whole league.
Oh boy, collapse coming through. They find Umti. They lock him down. Multiple tools being used. Dazzle in the Glacial Prison. He will fall. Unfortunately, Gorilla gets the kill, but they still pick off the enemy jungler, so I think they're going to be feeling pretty good about that.
Would mean they could turn onto the Drake. Longzhu haven't put that much priority in Drakes, but it's once again one of these low-value Drakes, just a Cloud Drake to open things up.
Hooray.
You didn't sound very serious in your shout of hooray.
I'm ecstatic.
I can tell from your tone of voice.
This is my happy voice.
You sound like someone who got their tax bill.
Yep.
Hooray.
Pretty much. Except I got a refund.
Nice! Not today. That was actually a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. Turns out tax season is done right now.
I'm happy. One more year without having to think about tax season.
Yep.
This is not a problem for most of our viewers. I don't think our viewership is thinking about taxes that much.
I'll just wait till you get older. You're gonna hate it.
It gets better for a bit, then it gets worse again.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, hey, you know what? I made a pretty decent amount of money this year, and then you realize, oh wait, I have to pay it all to the government.
Man, it's one of those really feeling older moments when you have to wrap your head around your bills and your incomings and outgoings, learning the real value of things.
Yeah, that's about when you realize that being an adult, there are aspects that suck.
Well, you're more recent at being an adult than me, so I gotta admit, what was one of your biggest surprises when it came to jumping from, being in a sharing house situation to like kind of really being the architect of your own future? Because to me, it's when I went to buy furniture for the first time and learned how much a couch costs. I was like, oh, couches cost a lot.
Yeah,
furnishing a house is real expensive.
They are. But I'm trying to think.
Paying bills, a famous one. Tax, for example.
Yeah, any kind of bill, something like that. Probably car insurance.
Oh.
When I had to have my own car insurance. That kind of was bad.
Hard dive coming here because Corki was taking time to get back lane. It's actually Gragas teleporting
finish this one off in time, and we'll go down here. So first brick over to Longzhu, but see how long they want to stick in the fight. All of Jin Air joining in, but arriving just a little bit too late to the party to turn things around for them.
And a consequential one, because mid lane outer turret going down against a champion with a global, or semi-global, in the Weaver's Wall. Usually can spill over to other lanes. A nice rotation from Longzhu, and Jin Air caught napping a little bit. Kuzan and So-Won not wanting to use teleport, and then So-Won basically wasting his. Not that Khan won't be doing too much team fighting, you'd imagine.
Oh, for the wraparound now.
Not spotted yet.
Yeah, turret still has plenty
it's
of
Cosmic
HP,
Radiance time.
Yeah, that's going to be the Cosmic Radiance coming down. The Dazzle connects. They knock him to the side, and he is going to fall as Gorilla finds his second kill of the game, and now they're just going to go ahead and take out the turret as well.
And this is another one of those moments where Longzhu can turn one advantage into two in basically an instant. Cosmic Radiance has been the go button for turret dives
they're looking for
ever since it was rotated. Yeah, So-Won and Umti decide to group to push down a turret and answer. This is not an answer, this is another question raised by Longzhu.
The only one that can clear out the wave right now would be So-Won with the explosive cask, but he's just trading for the tier 1 in the top lane. They'll lose out on that turret. It's 3-1 now, that advantage here for the side of Longzhu. And they're just going to keep on moving. 4K in the lead at 16 minutes. The Herald will be started by Jin Air.
But the Will of the Rift Herald represent more than, say, a inner side lane turret. It might represent mid lane turret, but even making that happen is going to be difficult without any sort of vision. So Jin Air will pick up the Rift Herald unanswered. You'll notice that Longzhu are going to reinforce the top side of the map. Kalista and Taric heading there already. Big gold lead to Longzhu from the objectives they picked up, but they have the kill lead as well.
All right, well, getting things started. Here is Longzhu. Bit of a faster-paced game, you'd have to say, compared to game number 2. So this is looking a little bit more reminiscent of game 1.
Iceborne Gauntlet first from So-Won. We haven't seen Iceborne Gauntlet almost at all since Righteous Glory was changed and became the team fight armor and health item du jour.
Yeah. And pretty big split priority here as well from Khan as far as his items are concerned. Went for the Bilgewater Cutlass and then the Stinger. So likely going to be the Triforce, but I guess wanted a little bit of sustain. Lifesteal in the lane.
It's not going to be about the active, like you say. It's cost-effective lifesteal and does completely betray what his 2-item build will be, because it's not going to be Titanic Hydra at this rate. That would be too much thrift shopping.
Yeah.
If you added a Tiamat to your list.
It just hits a point where you're actually causing problems for yourself.
I mean, gold completion often gives you the passives that have a lot of gold in them, even if it doesn't give you immediate stats, so you're not getting the most bang out of your buck, that's for sure.
Snowflower spotted out by that control ward, because it's just going to go ahead and clear this vision out. So do we see another early Baron attempt from Longzhu, like we've seen in both games, pretty much?
Well, Weaver's Wall is a bigger insurance tool than what Longzhu has had access to before, so I think that's very possible.
Seismic Shove does not connect, and Kuzan has the flash away from Khan in time.
Might have been one rotation if everything landed there from BDD.
Yeah, one more hit, I think, and he probably would have gone down, because even the Jax at this point is going to be doing quite a bit of damage.
Jin Air have a lot of early word about what Longzhu want to do. The moment you see Sejuani cutting through your jungle and the duo lane and top, you know that top lane outer turret and Baron is on the menu, and here's the first of that too.
I mean, this is mostly going to be for the turret, you'd have to think, because of
Prey's
the
not
escape
interested.
tools there from Jin Air. So yeah, Prey just going to go ahead and keep hammering away at this turret. They'll run out of minions, but Gorilla is perfectly willing to go ahead and take this one up for his squad. The Dazzle not going to connect, but the Glacial Prison does. With the arrival of Umti and Kuzan, they'll go ahead and say, okay, you know what, we're happy with the turret. That's the last outer. We have a pretty substantial lead.
Probably was incomplete information there. So1 was about 5 seconds away from TP, and Longzhu knew that Khan didn't have his TP, so the right move to pull out there, because it could have been 5 top lane, and Longzhu knew they wouldn't have a chance to answer. They got the objective they came for. Next visit will be to cement what is already 3 control wards around Baron. Seems like you didn't even need to raise the question, Gilios.
That's true. They answered it for me with their preparation. Maybe they'll pay a visit to this Ocean Drake that just spawned up first. As Prey is already down on this bottom side of the map, as is Cuz, so could just go ahead and pick that one up to have that second Drake.
That would be kind of weird. They put so many control wards around Baron and then abandon them all to start a Drake. They may react to a Drake start by Jin Air, but Baron spawning in 15.
It's fine. They don't expire. Just leave them as long as you want. Seismic Shove. Not going to connect as Kuzan is forced
Rift
to use
Herald
the package.
spotted in bot lane just to try and break the outer bot lane turret.
Well, but yet again, they're going to be trading a tier 1 for a tier 2. Prey finishes that one off. Teddy going to get popped into the Seismic Shove, and he gets deleted as Khan scoops up the kill. The Rift Herald is... Yeah, the Rift Herald is still not at the turret, by the way. It's just sitting there getting damage.
I can tell you where Longzhu's going to be at.
Oh, yeah. They're going straight over for this Baron. Yet again, 20 minutes, 15 seconds on the clock.
Cuz or solo zoning as the start of the Baron begins, doesn't even need to be in the pit because he can use the Ren to secure. Is the hard commitment from Longzhu.
We'll be seeing him, you'd have to expect, but actually whiffs on the Glacial Prison. Can he get the Devour? It's not happening. He takes it away with the face. Dumpty just finds that the Ren, the insurance policy, does not pay off. They do answer for 2 kills, getting rid of 2 of those buffs. We'll go ahead and make it 3 as BDD almost goes down. But Longzhu, they had everything. They have the Ren ready to go. They have Cuz in the pit. And Umti still comes up with a steal.
They had everything except a plan to actually stop Umti from getting over. Didn't use the Weaver's Wall. Didn't really invest too much thought into it. Thought that Rend would out-damage Feast, but Feast is already around 1,300 Achilles. Far too much of a risk. Longzhu have been so good at picking up Baron buffs and playing smart around objectives that we have to be surprised. And I think enemy teams, the 2 teams they're facing next week, Samsung and KT, will look at that and think, okay, maybe there actually is some holes in the Longzhu game plan.
Yeah,
watch the replay.
Now break in the armor.
They don't have vision over the wall, so they don't know where Cho'Gath is at, but come on, you don't need to be too surprised.
Oh, they ran like at the exact same time, but Feast just comes out on top.
I don't think it's an excuse that you didn't have vision on Cho'Gath and could have known it was coming, because where else was Cho'Gath going to be?
Oh, I agree, because they try to open things up with the Glacial Prison, and it just whiffs completely off to the side because they don't have vision over the wall. So, very sloppy by Longzhu. They pretty much had it. They had it dead to rights, and then they just kind of handed it away.
My impression is that the person who made the biggest mistake in that area was Cuz, because he dashed back over when he saw the enemies coming. So he was the one who could have granted them vision of Cho'Gath and given them more information. Instead, he wasn't really needed for secure. Clearly, Longzhu was not going to peel off the Baron. They had hard committed onto it. But you need to know where Cho'Gath is. Cho'Gath warps the game with Feast's insane amount of true damage early. And that was actually a mistake at playing around one of the new champions in 7-14.
It's the
New old champions, obviously.
Yeah. New old champions. He's had a couple changes, some tweaks.
He's better.
He is. The active E is quite good. You know, and that's one of the reasons why we thought maybe it was going to be a top lane Cho'Gath, was So-On's been playing this in his solo queue with Trinity Force on that Cho'Gath. So it's interesting. Maybe we'll see that down the line. But for now, Longzhu still will have a pretty commanding lead here in the game. Only a couple of those Baron buffs survive from the side of Jin Air, and the gold is very much in favor of Longzhu as they've just taken so many turrets.
It definitely wasn't a Baron to decide the game, but a Baron for Longzhu.
To elongate the game.
Certainly. And we've had one of those already in Game 2 that will have a bit of PTSD for Longzhu fans after Prey was caught. A Tristana was caught and a Baron was taken, but not in the same order as Game 2.
I mean, the thing that Longzhu fans can breathe easy about is the amount of chain CC that Jin Air has at the moment isn't that great.
And Jax
Hook play knock-up is pretty much it.
And Jax has all the gold. Jax is fed.
Yeah.
And farmed.
Yeah, he's 4-0-2. He's got both of his core items.
You need reinforcements to take down the champ in this game.
Well, Teddy crit's pretty hard.
The build is meant for single target, whereas Prey is predictably looking for his Ren sets. Jax has no coverage on the bot side, so you actually see him just picking up the Krugs. Maybe he's got some gold he's sitting on, because he's going back right now. Guardian Angel would be a teamfight choice here, and it's going to instead be a movement towards the Titanic Hydra, or maybe even the Frozen Mallet from Khan. Saw that experimented with earlier. I think it was last week we saw a Frozen Mallet Jax. Must admit I'm not a huge fan of it, but health is very useful against Cho'Gath.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, you can never escape, you're a bit tankier. So I guess I understand it, but it's not, doesn't feel like current meta.
It's not inspiring.
Yeah. Frozen Mallet hasn't been a thing for a while.
Hey, Nara disagrees.
Even then, we don't really see the Nars build it too often.
It's because they get...
Earlier today, we saw just a Black Cleaver.
We do see a lot of double buffs going against Nars, and Nars having bigger problems than building for lane, but I think it's still the staple I want to crush lane build for Nara.
Sure. Which you would have expected from Marin. But instead, he just died a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of been the actual story of Marin's Nara this season.
He walked in and just got deleted, so... Wasn't a good look. So, I mean, Jin Air, especially watching that series, should feel pretty good about their chances in playoffs if they can go ahead and find that 5th place spot.
Which they would be taking a gigantic step forward to doing if they would take down Longzhu in surprise fashion in this game. Certainly a game that's not written anymore. We thought Game 2 was largely inked to be a standard Longzhu victory. And Prey being caught, Jin Air lapped up that opportunity and were able to win the game. This time Longzhu have engaged. This time Longzhu have options.
Oh, well, they're not going to find the Dazzle.
Actually grouping with their Jax, so Jax not playing side lane.
Well, he's going back over that way.
Jax on top side suggests to me that Longzhu want to spend the next minute and a half setting up for a safer Baron than the last time.
Maybe this time with some vision over the wall.
You know, that's an opportunity. That's something they can think about.
Oh, dear. That's going to be a fun part of the VOD review.
They have double warding trinket and also some control wards in the inventory, so it can't be worse than last time, you'd imagine.
I would hope. I can imagine it. It hurts, but I can.
Here's the last shopping trip before Baron for Prey and Gorilla. More Malmortius going to be the next item for a bit more team fighting. Try and ignore one of those magic damage crits we know about.
Trying to keep himself alive. Again, gone are the days of the Sterix Gauge Callista, thankfully.
Sejuani didn't have backups. Didn't want to use her sweeper without anyone in the area holding on to that cooldown. And Tarek will have his up as well. Looking for Longzhu to have a much more ordered play around Baron, unless they can pick up a pick and then just try to rush it down.
Well, it's available here in 5 seconds. Cloud Drake on the board, but, well, you know, it's Baron, so everybody wants this.
No control ward on the Baron, though.
This is true. They have one in the vicinity up near the Krug Brush, so not going to be getting them a whole lot. They have one down in the pit now, as I can spot that one out on the mini-map.
I'll say that Longzhu are too dogged in holding on to things like Dorans and Dark Seals instead of buying control wards to take down objectives that will probably win them the game.
Okay, well right now, just kind of playing towards this bottom half. They have the majority of the team waiting in the river, or in the mid lane rather. Keeping tabs on Jin Air's members as Khan just goes ahead and solos this one out.
Sort of thing that other teams haven't been able to punish because of how much snowball has happened in Longzhu games, but now with the benefit of a longer series, we have been able to note that weakness in the Vision game. It's relying too much on Gorilla and the Rek'Sai also in game 2. 7-0 in kill score. I mean, so the kill score certainly tells one story, and the gold does as well. And yet, after the Baron kerfuffle, we're still not sure.
Yeah, so how do they want to approach this one? At the moment, it's going to be Khan splitting into the bottom lane, where there is not that inner turret. Instead, they're going to find engagement here onto Cuz, but he is insanely tanky as a Sejuani, so instead he's just going to force the flash from Snowflower.
Release pressure, no Thresh engage going to come through. They didn't have to use any resources, Longzhu, to make that happen, except from shifting the Bastion onto the Sejuani, looking for a dazzle there from Gorilla with the chain link. They're walking in. There's only 2 here.
Yeah, almost found Kuzan there, but the dazzle's not going to connect. Didn't quite have the right angle. So now just looking to take away the red buff. We'll be able to do so with that Ren. Do they want to stick into this one? Glacial Prison comes down, but they're not going to find the lockup. Gorilla goes forward, finds one with the dazzle. In the meantime, Snowflower has been taken out.
BD.
Now they're going to be pushing forward here.
Nice Buster Shot.
Yeah, Buster Shot just goes ahead, knocks them back, so keeps Teddy safe, but that's both of his summoner spells down his ultimate. And Longzhu, they're all going to take a ride.
So this time they know OMT Flash.
Doesn't make it.
BDD doesn't make it, but maybe he can just zone away the Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath does not have Flash this time, so should not be allowed in the pit. But for now, they still have no vision over the wall, and somehow Cho'Gath's going to walk up.
He's been spotted. It's going low. Can he make his way in there? There's all going to turn to target him. The Ren comes down, and it's going to be BDD able to go ahead and pick up that Baron. Now, Soan desperately using that explosive cast knock Khan to the side. Will make it out with his life, but Baron buff does go over to Longzhu.
But that was sloppy again, Achilles. Rocket over the wall almost took it blind on the backside because, again, they didn't have vision because they don't have control wards. Because for some reason they need Dark Sphere, Ruby Crystal, Doran's Blade at 30 minutes into the game. Longzhu are still giving lifelines to Jin Air, and even if they win this series, they really didn't need to make some serious adjustments to their vision game.
Yeah. I mean, Prey rending to kill Cho'Gath as opposed to saving it for the Baron for that possible steal is just not a great way to approach that take on the Baron buff. But
well, especially because to do that, he turned off, put damage into the Cho'Gath, still rendered the Baron, and Baron was sitting there at 400 HP, up for grabs.
Yep, just asking for a rocket to go ahead and hit him in the face. We've seen people steal them plenty of times with the Corki rockets.
Was the frozen mallet for the Jax? The health ball helping him from dying instantly in a situation like this.
It's a stun, but can he make it out? Nice leap strike there. We'll take him away from that body slam. Keep him relatively safe, and now Jin Air is in full panic mode as they try to hold on to the base. BDD is going to go ahead. Continues pushing up in the top lane. Will knock down that final inner turret. Now it's going to be these inhibitors under siege. Just about 12,000 gold in the lead is Longzhu. And even then, they're still playing a little bit measured here.
Now rotating as 5, just under the turret. This guy's going to have to dash away.
Some bit of damage, but Khan is going to go ahead and knock down this bottom inhib turret. So now that one's going to be exposed. Mid lane going to be following shortly thereafter. They're looking for the kill in onto the Jax. He gets popped away, and that's going to be enough distance for him to get out safely. Has the Baron empowered recall and the TP to rejoin.
Yeah, no punishment there because he's able to flash like you say. BD turning onto Kuzan, not getting the kill, but they'll get the turret.
And he's just going to go straight back into the bottom lane, try to knock down that inhib. So all 3 turrets now falling, all 3 inhibitors exposed, and Longzhu will be trying to finish this one off considerably cleaner than game 2, cleaner than game 1 as well. So a nice high note to finish out this series with. Cosmic Radiance coming down. They go ahead and deny all that damage coming through. Soan's going to get jumped on. He's just going to disappear. Prey rending him to death. Now looking for a little bit more. They go ahead and get a little bit of damage in, but it's not going to be enough. As Prey just keeps firing away, and everybody on the side of Jin Air disappears. And just like that, double kill here for Prey at the end. They will finish off these Nexus turrets. They'll finish it off 14-0 for Longzhu. They close out this series 2-1.
And 14-0 is certainly a clean kill score, but the game was not as clean as Longzhu fans would like. The sort of game where watching it, you saw gaps from the side of Longzhu that you hadn't necessarily seen in previous games, and that is going to be a bit of a query. their dogged resistance from getting enough vision around Baron was almost punished in 2 straight games. Game 2, they were taken down by a pick on prey, but vision around Baron was Cho'Gath's earlier steal, and this time Cho'Gath didn't have flash. So sure, the chances were lower, and yet you have to ask the question, why not a bit more reinforcement? Why not a bit more tight play around Baron? Longzhu are no longer being scrutinized about it as a team with young players and a team with characters that we know and love. They're being scrutinized as a team that may actually be the champions of LCK Summer, so you have to adjust your expectations. And when it came to the vision game, they did let us down a little bit in Game 3.
Yeah, that and just the general approaches to those Barons, not investing everything that they had into confirming it, but going for the kills, greedily using that rend on the side of Prey. We'll go ahead and get a replay of the end of the game here.
Cosmic Radiance was armed as the Permafrost was onto the Gragas, so they're always going to pick up 1 kill, but right at the end,
Fate's Call and they get the pop-up.
And it all stacks up. Watch for the seismic shove here coming through when the Weaver's Wall was in, and the Minefield as well. My goodness, the E there ripped through them as well. Nice, clean stuff, and again, the kill score one-sided. The game, the victor, was probably always going to be Longzhu Gaming in Game 3, and yet you still wonder about what ifs, and you steal the players. They're not celebrating, even though they do once again go 1 match clear at the top of the table.
Yeah, would have liked to avoid that loss in game number 2 and play a bit cleaner in 3. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Longzhu retaining their spot in first place, and Jin Air a bit further away from those playoff hopes.
Valdez, one of the casters at Gangnam, talked about how after the series, the 2-0 earlier this week, all the players stayed grouped afterwards and were still talking about how they could have improved. And I think we're seeing the same sort of thing from the players here. Finally smiling, but this time once again with measurable things to work on for the next series, because it only gets harder for Longzhu Gaming. KT and Samsung next week, and in a couple of weeks' time, whether it's in the semifinal or the final, it will probably be Longzhu versus one of those teams again, or a rampaging SK Telecom. So now, all the easy opponents are gone. It's only top 5 teams for Longzhu for the rest of the season.
Yep. Well, as has been the theme here for the duration of this series, it's going to be BNED taking the lead as far as the damage is concerned yet again. Going back over that Talia. Didn't see it from him in Game 1 or Game 2. Brings it out here in 3 and helps staple down that win.
DPS Talia at the end, rather than the Weaver's Wall inch forward Talia that we've gotten used to
we saw
the past month.
So few Weaver's Walls actually in that game. Never really was riding into the side lanes to try to go for those big ganks. It was mostly just about him smashing rocks into people's faces.
And I think that's kind of a product of what you have around the Talia. Because if you have Caitlyn, if you have Siege, absolutely, it's the walls behind the turret to take objectives, but it was a Jax Sejuani comp. It's very much more about split push or hard engage. Kallista's not a great Siege champion at the best of times, so a different type of Talia. Pumping out the DPS, and Gorilla on the Taric for the first time this season will win the MVP.
Yeah, and I mean, Jin Air, they did their best to try to take away those crucial Fate's Call champions that he could play the Blitzcrank and the Alistar, their final 2 bans. But they didn't see the Taric coming, just got patched up and buffed up on 7-14. He brings it back out, and he plays it oh so well. The Dazzle accuracy, for the most part, was very good.
And it's the second time we're seeing Kalista Taric this season, actually, before all the buffs came through for Taric and the change in the meta for Kalista. BBQ Oliver's played it to a victory as well, with really, honestly, the same sort of results here. The core interaction is that you start the Dazzle right as you're about to be Fate's Called, and then it's usually going to be a Wombo engage for the ages, even more so than just a Fate's Call, and a guaranteed Dazzle afterwards. Cosmic Radiance also to shrug off damage against a Cho'Gath gets maximum value. So they used the Taric, who was strong. It was Ardent Sensor again from Gorilla, who's in love with that item, as are many other supports right now with its power level. This was the time they were smarter at going over the Baron, but you notice how close it was to a steal, and that would have just extended the game again.
I mean, if that rocket had been a big one, then could have been a completely different story there for Kuzan going for that steal. But yeah, this is just going to be the cleanup, as Gorilla did get tossed back in. He's just able to set up for the big lockdown. They just suffered heavy losses on the side of Jin Air.
Well, I hope fans understand the only reason that we're being so critical in a 14-0 kill game is because Longzhu are shooting for the top. Some things to work on in Game 3.
Yeah, for sure. But for now, we'll go ahead and hear from our MVPs. So, Joel, take it away with the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your last interview translation of the day, and we're here with Longzhu Gaming. Despite Jinner's best efforts, they couldn't get it with this win this time around, and Longzhu get another win in their series. 2-1 this time. We're here with BDD and Gorilla for the interview. How do you feel after that win? I think we were especially afraid and nervous before the day before today's series, and I think that really showed in today's performance. I think we were a little bit nervous than we were supposed to be. And a lot of people are really just considering you as the best player in the tournament right now, in this entire series, in the entire season. How do you think about that? Yeah, I'm really happy for BDD because he's doing such a marvelous job in every department. I think, but just BDD is one of those players that always has room for growth, and he's developing at a very quick level right now.
실제로 프로게이머들이 그런 식으로 많이 부릅니다.
프레이 선수를 메이라고 하나요? And I think they're just talking about some nicknames they're referring back to. But today's games, you guys really had a tough opposition with Jin this time around. And it seems like you guys were really having a tough time dealing with some of the situations there. Yeah, I feel like just with overall things that we were trying to do today, I think this, that one loss really did give us a room to develop as a team and as individual players as well. And how did you prepare for this particular series? Yeah, we didn't try anything special just because it was Jin Air, but we tried to be consistent, and because just with the remainder of the games we have to get good results, so we just try to be consistent in our mindset. And you picked out Syndra in the first game. What was the meaning of that pick? Yeah, Syndra was sort of a risky pick in that situation because there were a lot of counters left remaining. So we were just hoping that they weren't gonna pick the counters to it. But without those counters available, Syndra is definitely a good pick to go with. And there were so many highlights that we can show with that Syndra pick. We like to show one of it at least. Just seems like you were supposed to be the one dying out of those crucial team fights, but you just took the kills in exchange. Yeah, I was just kind of surprised at how the Lee Sin was trying to come in, but I just tried to do WEQ and also then literally try to do the ult, and my reaction was thankfully quick enough to make that work out. And what was the Blitzcrank pick? How did that come about? Yeah, I think there was a situation where the Blitzcrank grab was not much of a danger. If I did miss out, I wouldn't be in that much of a risk after that, so it was a safe pick to go with. And you did pick up a quadra kill near the end. What was the communication in this specific play? Yeah, I think we were just trying to be instinctual in what champions we were going with each time. There were so many calls going back and forth that we were just kind of confused at what we were supposed to go with, but just kind of went with our instincts. And BDD thought you could have died, right? Yeah, I was just trying to run away from the Lee Sin, but to realize that the Lee Sin didn't have the ult available, so it's pretty fortunate there. After coming up with a win in Game 1, you guys went to Game 2 and basically had a free time for most of the game. I'm sure when Prey died near the end, I'm sure that was the big moment for you guys. Yeah, I think we got a little bit greedy once we had a lot of advantages towards our way. I think we just got a little bit greedy and overstepped it to that situation where we crucially lost Prey in that battle.
실제로 뭐 코치진이나 어떤 얘기들이 오고
And what was the communication after the game, after you guys lost?
딜량을 한 5천 정도 해서 약간 이 경기에
Yeah, Prey got about 5,000 damage in game 1, and he really wanted to redeem himself personally. So I think he just tried every single situation possible to get more damage in game 2. I think some of that situation we couldn't protect him as far as we could, so felt sorry for not being able to protect him as well as enough.
이건 좀 너무
BDD 선수는 어때요?
BDD, what do you feel about that situation?
또 같이 지켜주는 친구였어요.
I'm sure you had to protect him as well.
그랬던 것 같아요.
Yeah, I think I could have protected him a lot better. So it's definitely our fault. It's not Prey's fault by any chance.
사실 프레이 선수가 그때 전멸도 있었고 뭐 이렇게
Yeah, Prey had, I remember he had flash available. He had so many ways to escape.
제가 브라운 같은 캐릭이었으면 지켜줬을 텐데.
Yeah, if I was Brown, for example, I definitely could have protected him, but it's definitely my fault for not protecting Prey.
지켜줘. 그러니까 다 못 지켜줘가지고.
So it's everybody else's fault other than Prey's, supposedly.
좋았고 그리고 멘탈을 잡는 게 중요한데 그래서
But keeping your mentality was important after losing that game 2 and reaching game 3. What was the mindset heading into that game?
이제 1경기 하는 거다 이러면서 멘탈
Yeah, we just try to reset back to game 1 and thought that we're just starting new, fresh start, and we just wanted to treat it as if nothing happened, and we just try to play our usual game.
어떻게 보면 좀 평온하게 흘러가고 있었거든요. 서로 파밍하면서
And it seemed like game 3 was sort of a stable match where you guys weren't really going back and forth, but not doing anything crucial in both sides.
일단 제가 타릭이라서 이게 66레벨의 칼리 타릭이 약간 다이브가 좋아서.
Yeah, with Tarek, you always have to look out for level 6 along with Kalista, especially because the ultimate chains really can get us a lot of favors and get a lot of advantages, but we had to wait until that timing.
다른
그렇죠. 팀원 칭찬밖에 없는 것 같아요.
본인이 MVP인데 와 확실히 또 팀의 어머니다운 그런 모습을 보여주고 있습니다. 그래서 요즘 이제 나오는 이야기가 이제 이 롱주가
And the word that's coming up recently is that the possibility of Longzhu Gaming going a straight path, a free pass all the way to the finals. And how do you predict that kind of statement for you guys right now?
그런 이야기들 좀 하고 있나요?
I'm sure you guys talk about that in the team as well.
개인으로 다들 우승 보고 있는 것 같은
Yeah, I think all of us individually as players, I think we're really reaching towards the win. Actually, just getting the first place, becoming champions at LCK, I think that's realistic what we're looking at.
그런 마음은 다들 하잖아요. 이게 잘
Yeah, I think, you want to be humble at times, but you just can't win over that expectation and really that excitement of possibly becoming the champions of LCK.
또 BDD 선수 이 KD 수치를 보고 있으면 좀 의식하세요. 이거 죽을 때마다.
And do you just realize how high your KDA is right now? With each death, it just crumbles down.
안 죽으려는 생각은 많이 해요.
Yeah, I do think that I should try to avoid dying as much as possible. That's the only thing that gets in my way.
알겠습니다. 자, 아까도 뭐 잠깐 고릴라 선수가 언급해 주셨습니다만 이제 강팀 삼성과 KT전만.
And as Gorilla mentioned previously, you have Samsung and KT left to face off in the rest of the season. Gorilla, would you like to say anything regarding those matches coming up?
네, 저희 지금 이제 지옥의 4연전이 끝나서 조금 시간이 있거든요.
Yeah, I think getting the 4 straight days of matches is finally over, so we finally get a chance to take a little bit of rest. So we hope that you guys cheer for us for the rest of the season, and we'll just try to hope to give you guys good results as well. And that seems to be the end of the interview. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the team talking about that possibility of being the champions here. Be such a crazy occurrence to have BDD coming back in, from CJ Antis now here becoming the champion. Khan, Cuz, the rookie, able to achieve that in their first split would be monumental for Longzhu Gaming.
So interestingly, Longzhu and Jin over the course of summer season go 3-3. As Jin were able to take them down 2-1 in the first round. Longzhu keep their position in first, 5 games ahead of rank 2, but they play rank 2 and rank 3. They face KT on Tuesday, I should say, next week, and then the following Sunday against Samsung. So that means that as actually the OGN exit of Longzhu Gaming, there will be Sangam for both of those, sorry, it will be Gangnam for both of those games. Interesting to see when we see them next, but our next matches will be tomorrow, so won't be Saturday, guys. Tomorrow, the 28th of July, Friday KST, we bring you 2 more matches.
Yes, that is right. Not going to have that gap day. We have a final for another game on Saturday, so Friday is going to be the time that these matches will take place. KT Rolster versus BBQ Olivers, and then SKT1 versus the Rocks Tigers. Very much, I guess, like the Ever 8 series, we sort of expect SKT to walk away with a relatively easy victory in this one, but should they lose, then everything about playoffs for SK Telecom kind of goes out the windows in our minds.
Yeah, one of those 4-0 days unless, and then the unless is something you'd ruminate on, and then games at the Gangnam Stadium on Sunday, Jin Greenwings versus MVP, and the Afrika Freaks, fresh off that 2-0 loss, or stomp you would say, by Samsung, take on Ever 8 winners, and theoretically, get another victory.
Yeah, fresh off of that, maybe not the nicest way to put it. Or it sounds too nice, rather. Stale off of that.
That's not how it works. That's not how English works.
This is not English. I mean, clearly I don't know how English works. Been stumbling all